Hello, detectives, and welcome back to Stay Tuned for Mystery, a Nancy Drew podcast. And welcome to Season 2, Episode 4, and the final installment of seasonal gameplay, Nancy in Summer. We're going to be diving into the seasonal aspects of the perfect games to play during the summer season. So kick back, grab a refreshing beverage, and let's get into it. So we're in the start of summer here for me. Well, we're not in the start of summer right now. I mean, usually the start of summer, where I live at least, I usually think of as after Memorial Day weekend here in North America. So the weather is mostly warm, maybe still a tiny bit cold to, really go swimming or anything, but we're barbecuing, we're outside, flowers are in bloom. It's a great time. For this transitional period into summer, I'd really recommend, honestly, the Haunted Carousel. I feel like Carousel has so many summer starter components that aren't really, fully like, beach pool swimming, but they also really embody that summer feeling. For one, the location, even though we don't necessarily spend a ton of time walking around outside in this game, the whole atmosphere of being at an amusement park, I feel like is a great kickoff to summer. And that very carnival aspect with, riding the carousel and the midway mini games. I also feel like since we can order ice cream in this game, that's also a super fun summer component as well. Getting to order the fun day at the hotel. And the music of this game specifically, I feel like it does a great job of immersing us in the atmosphere as well. It's very carnival like, it's some of the songs in this soundtrack are definitely, I feel like I would hear them at a real life amusement park or like a real life carnival, etc. So they did a great job with that. Phantom of Venice is also an early summer game I would recommend kind of for similar reasons. This game is different in the way that we do spend a lot of time walking around a lot outside, and I think it gives a perfect atmosphere for early summer. The sun is out, it's nice to walk around in. There are a lot of extra things that we get to do in this game, like go to the Rialto Market, eat as much gelato as we can stomach, or pay for or afford in this game. And there are a lot of outside courtyard locations as well that are so nice to spend time in, as well as, hanging out at the beautiful rooftop at the Coniscosta. The final early summer game I'd recommend is Labyrinth of Lies. Maybe an unlikely or unpopular choice, but I think the fact that this game does take place around July, honestly really contributes to this because at first glance, there's not a ton of summery aspects to this, but I do think the open air environment of the theater itself and the fact that we're out in the sun, I can really just perfectly picture maybe visiting a museum similar to that in Greece in the middle of the summer, and then, spending a ton of time outside and then in the cool museum, or obviously the museum is super cool and fascinating, but I meant, physically cool, like cold. But, cool, interesting cool works as well. So anyway, while not a likely choice, I think it could work. So now we're right in the middle of summer, probably spending most of the time submerged in, some kind of body of water, a pool, the ocean, a lake, and or just outside a lot, maybe. Hopefully in relaxation mode, the living's easy, hopefully a lot of, most of you are feeling that way too. I hope you get time to relax in the summer, at least a little bit. But these games are probably more obvious choices, but for this time of the season, I would recommend Creature of Kapu Cave. So like I said, probably an obvious choice, but something unique about this game's vibes, I feel like, is not only it captures the beach ambiance perfectly, but also off the beach as well. We can travel to the Kapu Cave volcano, which in the game is a fictional part of the very real Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. park. So it's sort of a hot, summery outdoor activity that we get in the game that's different from the beach. We also spend time in the jungle, and then, of course, a lot of time on the beach as well. The mini games in this too also really cap off the experience for me, like making shell necklaces, finding shells literally on the beach, and of course, getting to eat as many shave ice cones as we want to spend the Big Island bucks on. Another great midsummer game, this one is also, I feel, self explanatory. Ransom of the Seven Ships. I feel like I don't need to explain this one. This one has all the summer vibes we could possibly want. The beach vibes are immaculate, as well as the off beach vibes. Even though the overhead navigation is really not my favorite, I do love the stops we can make in this game that are a little more out in the jungle. There's also scuba diving and rock climbing that we do in the game, and the sounds of the waves crashing and the seagulls. They really just, I think, create the perfect, absolute perfect summer atmosphere. A possibly unlikely choice for this, in fact, I feel is Shadow at the Water's Edge. I feel like this game really encapsulates that kind of dog days of summer feeling that rolls around in July, early August. Like, okay, we've been in this season for a while. We're losing track of what day is which. you know, those of you who are students, you haven't sat in a classroom desk in months. I think personally that Shadow at the Water's Edge is great for this time, honestly, because the atmosphere just kind of reminds me of those long summer nights. Especially when we're out in the garden, you can kind of almost just feel that like dry, hot summer air? Another unlikely choice, maybe an unlikely choice, I don't know, I would recommend is Alibi and Ashes, which I also feel captures that dog days of summer feeling, like Nancy just kind of palling around with her friends in the middle of summer, while school's out. It really does kind of remind me of my teenhood and early adulthood growing up in a small town similar to River Heights. Like, there's really nothing interesting to do when we're out of school, and we don't have to go to school every day, so basically we have nothing to do every day. There's nothing really interesting in the town to do except to just wander around town. At least in my town. I'm not talking about River Heights. I'm sure there's plenty of interesting things to do in River Heights. But nothing really else to do except wander around, maybe go to the eclectic antique shop, go to the local ice cream shop, of course, because it's summer, you're going to be eating so much ice cream. And the sun is out, and like I said, of course, the fact that we get to eat ice cream in this game just makes it all that much better. And the fact that we get to eat as much free ice cream as we want in this game, and we don't even have to worry about it until we get the bill at the end credits. I think that's just chef's kiss. So now summer is kind of winding down. We've had the AC cranked up for 2 straight months now. For the later ending days of summer, I'd recommend quite a few games actually. Danger by Design also, I think, has really good components of that, especially with the Square du Volant Park location. Like, just taking a late summer stroll through the park with the ambiance and the sounds of the water is great, along with the mini game of making parfaits is also a really great late summer treat. Secret of Shadow Ranch is also another one I'd recommend, mainly for the weather vibes, being in the hot desert, but we spend a lot of time outdoors in this game, and we do a lot of outdoor activities that really contribute to those summer vibes, I feel like. There's exploring the ghost town outside and horseback riding, and especially the activities we do at the ranch, like picking the vegetables and building a campfire. They all really contribute to that feeling. And for a similar reason, Tomb of the Lost Queen is another one I'd recommend. One, because of the desert outside component, and while there aren't too many summery characteristics of this game, I just think the environment in general as a whole is a big factor to this. I also love the component of drinking as much water as we can possibly handle. That really contributes to that. And it does remind us that we are in the hot desert. The Shattered Medallion is the final recommendation for my summer list. Obviously, this game has really great summery vibes and aspects to it, but specifically for late summer, I feel like it's a great later summer game. Maybe a game that you would play just before you head back to school. And then we start getting bombarded with, the pumpkin spice season. Don't get me wrong, I love pumpkin spice, but I also love soaking up the last, couple hours of summer. But anyway, I feel like it's a great late summer game to play because it kind of encapsulates that, like, winding down of the lazy days outside, like last, days at the lake before the season ends. Obviously, there's nature everywhere we look in this game. There's mountains and waterfalls, camping. Well, not camping, but, for the game show, we do stay in those tents. And walking around outside constantly. And there's also exploring underwater in a submarine and also kayaking on the Sound, which that scene in the game is absolutely beautiful. I know Shattered Medallion is hated by a lot of people. Listen, no matter how much you hate Shattered Medallion, which I understand. I like the game, but I understand why people don't like it. But for as much as you may hate that game, you cannot deny that those kayaking scenes are absolutely gorgeous. But anyway, kayaking is also personally one of my favorite summer activities, so I might be a little biased, but I think the Shattered Medallion is a great late summer, wind down to fall game to play. And that, detectives, is my full Nancy in Summer analysis. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please let me know what you think. And I hope you enjoyed my seasonal gameplay series. I hope to see you next time. I will hopefully be back for season 3 in early or mid 2026. So be on the lookout for that. I do post updates where I will be posting updates about what the season is and when it, comes out. I post that on my Instagram, as well as I do have my own Discord channel now. You can grab my Discord, the link for my Discord in the bios of any of my media links, any of my Instagram, Twitch, YouTube bios. You can grab the link for that if you want to join the Discord and get updates, or you can see the updates on Instagram as well if you follow me at Stay Tuned for Mystery. In the meantime, until I'm back, you can find me, as I alluded to, you can find me both on Twitch and YouTube under the same name, Stay Tuned for Mystery. I'd love to see you over there. If you don't already know, I do lots of Nancy Drew, mystery, cozy, horror, I'm getting into a big variety of games. So I do lots of streams over on my Twitch channel, as well as I make lots of Nancy Drew and other gaming content on my YouTube channel as well. And you get a brand new video every Stay Tuned Saturday. So I hope to see you over there sometime. And as a reminder, if you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to review the show if you're listening on Spotify. Give it a thumbs up if you're listening on YouTube. And thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for being here. And I will chat with you next time. Stay tuned.